The outpost on the edge of the galaxy was quiet that night. Daniel Cross, a young human engineer, was working late in the repair bay. The steady hum of machines was the only sound, and he thought it would be another ordinary shift. But then the alarm tore through the silence, sharp and urgent. Red lights flashed, and the doors burst open. A group of alien soldiers rushed inside, carrying a small figure wrapped in silver cloth. Daniel froze when he saw the child, her skin pale with a faint glow, her breathing shallow. She was not human, but one of the alien visitors stationed at the outpost. Her mother, tall and armored, followed close behind, her face full of fear. Her voice shook the air. "Help her, please. She is dying." The medics came running, surrounding the child, scanning her with their strange devices. Their whispers were quick and desperate. "Blood mismatch. We cannot stabilize her. Her body rejects everything." The alien mother slammed her fist against the wall, her sharp eyes burning. Her people were proud warriors, but here she was helpless, watching her daughter fade. Daniel felt his chest tighten, something inside him refusing to just stand and watch. He stepped forward, his voice breaking the chaos. What if I try?" The medics turned, startled. "You are human. Your blood is different. It could kill her." But Daniel shook his head. "Or it could save her. I'll take the risk." The alien mother's gaze locked on him, fierce and searching. For a moment the room seemed to freeze, her people staring in disbelief. Then she gave a single sharp nod. "Do it," she ordered, her voice trembling. The medics hesitated, but the child was slipping away fast. They connected Daniel to her with trembling hands, the machine humming as his blood flowed into her fragile body. Daniel clenched his fists as the minutes stretched into hours. The child's chest rose and fell faintly, then stilled, then rose again. Everyone held their breath, waiting for a sign. And then, her eyes flickered open, glowing like starlight. A small hand reached weakly toward Daniel, and she whispered something in her alien tongue. He didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning: gratitude, life, hope. The medics gasped, some even whispering prayers. The mother dropped to one knee before Daniel. Her head bowed low, a warrior humbling herself to a stranger. "You gave your blood," she said, her voice shaking. "In our law, that is the highest bond." Daniel blinked, confused, sweat dripping down his face. "I only did what anyone would do," he said quietly. But the mother's eyes glowed with something more than gratitude, something heavy, something dangerous. Around them, the alien soldiers whispered, their voices low but urgent. "The human has bound himself to her clan. He is no longer outsider. He is one of us now." Daniel didn't understand, not yet. All he saw was a child alive, breathing, smiling weakly at him, and a mother whose piercing eyes would not leave his face. A bond had been made, sealed in blood, and it would change everything. But in that moment, Daniel didn't know the cost. He only knew that he had saved a life, and that life now tied him to a fate far greater than he imagined. The alarms faded, the room grew quiet again, but the silence was heavy, filled with things unsaid. Daniel stood in the middle of it, heart pounding, unaware that this act of compassion would lead him to war, love, and choices that no human had ever faced before. The mother rose, towering over him. She placed a hand over her heart, her voice steady now. "Human, your blood flows in my child. By our tradition, you are no longer stranger. You are bound to us." Daniel tried to smile, thinking it was only words, only thanks. But deep inside, he felt the weight of her gaze. The kind of gaze that promised this night was only the beginning. And somewhere in the dark sky beyond the outpost walls, destiny shifted. For one human and one alien family, the stars would never be the same again. The medical bay had grown quiet after the storm of alarms. The child slept peacefully now, her chest rising and falling with steady rhythm. Beside her stood Daniel Cross, still pale from the blood he had given, but unable to walk away. He kept watching the little alien girl as if making sure she would not fade again. Her mother, Commander Soraya, did not leave his side either. She was tall, her armor scarred with years of battles, her eyes sharp and cold. Yet tonight they burned with something softer. Fear, relief, and something Daniel could not name. She had seen warriors fall, she had seen comrades die, but nothing had terrified her like almost losing her daughter. and nothing had shocked her like seeing a human risk his life for her child. When the medics finally stepped back, Soraya lowered herself in front of Daniel. Not just a bow, not just thanks, but a kneel, something no one expected. Her soldiers gasped. Some even lowered their heads in respect. Soraya placed her hand over her chest and spoke in a voice that carried weight. Human, you gave blood to my blood. In our law, that is the bond of life. I owe you a debt greater than any oath of battle. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. You don't need to do that. I only wanted to help. But Soraya shook her head. No, you do not understand. In my people's law, blood is not just life, it is kinship. You are now bound to my line. You are protector. You are family. The words settled over the room like heavy chains. Daniel felt the eyes of every alien soldier pressing down on him. Some nodded with approval, some whispered to one another. He caught fragments of their language, words like bonded, clan, and chosen. He swallowed hard, unsure whether to laugh or to run. Later, after the child was safe and the medics dismissed, Soraya invited Daniel to her private quarters. The halls were dim, glowing with alien lights that pulsed like living veins. The air smelled faintly of metal and strange flowers. Daniel followed, his boots echoing against the floor, his mind racing. Inside, Soraya's quarters were nothing like a commander's war room. They were decorated with banners, carvings, and a single glowing cradle, clearly made for her daughter. She gestured for Daniel to sit, and for the first time, her voice was not commanding, but almost gentle. You must know what you have done, she said, her eyes never leaving him. In your people's eyes, maybe it was only kindness. But in mine, you gave your blood to my child. That means you gave part of yourself. Now, no law, no clan, no warrior can deny it. You are tied to us, as if you were born among us. Daniel ran a hand through his hair, shaking his head. I didn't mean to. I didn't know. Soraya leaned closer, her sharp features softened by the dim light. Intent does not matter. Blood speaks louder than words. Our people believe bonds of blood cannot be broken. You saved her. You are her protector now. And by tradition, that makes you mine. The words hit Daniel like a strike. He froze, unsure if he had heard her correctly. Yours? Wait, what do you mean? Soraya's expression did not waver. In my people's eyes, you are chosen mate. You gave what no one else could. You are tied to me through her. It is not just gratitude, human. It is law. It is destiny. Daniel's throat went dry. He had expected thanks, maybe a medal, maybe a handshake. But not this, not to be claimed by a warrior alien commander. He looked at her, trying to find a way out, but her eyes glowed with conviction. This was not a joke, not a misunderstanding. It was real. For a long moment, silence filled the room. The only sound was the soft hum of the cradle where the child slept. Then Soraya spoke again, her voice lower, almost a whisper. You may not want it now, but know this, Daniel Cross. From this moment, you are part of us. Whether you accept or not, my people will see you as bound. You will feel the weight of it soon. Daniel stood slowly, his chest tight, his mind spinning. He wanted to deny it, to say it was only a mistake. But when he looked at the child resting peacefully, alive because of him, he felt something stir inside. Responsibility, connection, maybe even fate. He left her quarters that night under the watchful eyes of alien guards. They saluted him differently now, not as a visitor, not as an outsider, but as someone marked, someone bound. And though Daniel tried to tell himself it was nothing, deep down he knew the truth. Something had changed, and there was no turning back. The days after the transfusion were anything but quiet. Daniel tried to return to his work in the repair bay, fixing pipes, calibrating machines, patching broken circuits. But everywhere he went, alien eyes followed him. Some soldiers nodded to him as if he were one of their own. Others whispered behind his back, their glowing eyes filled with a strange mix of respect and suspicion. At first, Daniel ignored it, telling himself it would fade. But it did not. Even the human workers began to notice. Careful, Cross, one officer warned him. You're in the middle of something you don't understand. Daniel frowned, wiping grease from his hands. I only saved a kid, that's all. But the officer shook his head. Not to them. To them, you did something bigger than any treaty. They think you're family now. The whispers grew louder in the following days. When Daniel walked through the market level, Alien merchants lowered their heads in respect. Children pointed at him, whispering the word protector. Guards saluted him in the alien style, fists to their hearts. It was as if he had been pulled into a culture he never studied, never agreed to. And yet the weight of it pressed on his shoulders every hour. Then came Commander Soraya. She began appearing wherever Daniel worked, standing silently, watching him. Her tall frame made even hardened soldiers step aside. Her eyes never left him, studying every move. At first he thought she was simply checking on her daughter's savior. But the longer it went on, the more he realized. It was something else, something heavier. One evening, she approached him while he was working on a power conduit. "You work hard," she said, her voice calm but carrying that warrior's edge. Daniel glanced up, uneasy. "Yeah, someone has to keep the lights on." Soraya tilted her head. "You still do not see what you are to us." Daniel frowned. "I'm just human, just an engineer." Her lips curved into something between a smile and a challenge. "No, you are protector. You are bound to me. My people already speak of you as blood." Daniel's stomach twisted. He put down his tools, meeting her gaze. "I didn't ask for this. I just wanted to save your daughter." Soraya stepped closer, her presence filling the small space. "And by saving her, you saved me. You saved my clan. That cannot be undone." That night, Daniel could not sleep. His mind replayed her words, the whispers, the stares, the strange honor he had been given without choice. For the first time, he felt afraid, not of Soraya herself, but of what her people expected. He was one man, one human, caught inside a culture of warriors who believed his blood tied him to them forever. The next day, Daniel's fear turned to shock. He was summoned to a great hall inside the alien wing of the outpost. It was vast, with banners hanging from the ceiling, glowing symbols of ancient clans. Hundreds of aliens filled the room, their eyes fixed on him as he walked inside. And at the center stood Commander Soraya, her daughter beside her, alive and strong. When the crowd hushed, Soraya raised her hand. "This human," she declared, her voice echoing across the hall, "gave his blood to my child. He bound himself to us with the gift of life. By our law, he is no longer outsider. By our law, he is protector. And by our law, he is mine." The hall erupted in voices, some cheering, some gasping. The humans in the crowd looked at Daniel in shock. He felt his throat go dry, his heart pounding in his chest. He had not agreed to this, not prepared for it. Yet here he was, standing in front of two species. One expecting him to accept a bond stronger than any contract. The other horrified that a human might be claimed by an alien commander. Daniel stood frozen as Soraya's words hung in the air. And in that moment, he realized there was no escape. No way to pretend it had been only kindness. No way to deny the whispers or the stares. The choice would come soon. And whatever he decided, it would change not only his life, but the fragile peace between their worlds. The great hall trembled with noise. Alien voices rose like thunder, some cheering with approval, others arguing with anger. Human officers exchanged worried glances, their faces pale under the glowing banners. And in the middle of it all stood Daniel Cross, frozen in shock. Commander Soraya's words echoed again in his mind. "By our law, he is protector, and by our law, he is mine." Daniel wanted to deny it, wanted to shout that it was all a mistake. But the eyes of hundreds pinned him down, waiting for his reaction. The alien child stood at her mother's side, her small hand clutching Soraya's armor. Her glowing eyes searched for Daniel with hope. She whispered in her own language, but Daniel could not understand. He only felt the meaning, trust, belonging, a bond that pulled at his heart. One human commander stepped forward, his voice sharp. "This is not acceptable. He is a citizen of Earth, not a subject of alien tradition." The crowd erupted again, shouts clashing like blades. Alien warriors raised their fists, their voices fierce. "Blood is law. He is bound. He cannot walk away." Soraya lifted her hand, silencing the uproar with a single motion. Her gaze locked on Daniel, steady and unyielding. "You gave what none of us could. My daughter lives because of you. The bond is sealed. If you walk away, you dishonor me, my clan, and every warrior in this hall." Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. He wanted to speak, but the weight of her words stole his voice. What could he say? That he hadn't meant it? That he had no choice? Would that matter to them? Would they even listen? The human officers pulled him aside, whispering urgently, "Don't agree to this, Cross. If you let them bind you, you'll never be free again. You'll belong to them, not to Earth, not to yourself." Another officer hissed, "This could break treaties. One mistake, and we'll have war on our hands." Daniel felt the pressure crushing him. On one side stood his people, warning him of danger. On the other side stood Soraya and her clan, demanding honor. And in between, the child, who looked at him as if her very life still depended on him. The hall grew tense as silence fell again. Every eye watched Daniel, waiting for his answer. Soraya stepped closer, her voice lowering, yet filled with steel. "You think you can escape this? You cannot. Blood does not lie. My people will follow it. I will follow it. You are part of us now, whether you accept it in words or not." Daniel swallowed hard, his voice trembling when he finally spoke. "I never asked for this. I only wanted to save her." Gasps rippled through the alien crowd, but Soraya did not flinch. She tilted her head, her expression unreadable. Intentions mean little. Action means everything. You may deny me today, human, but the bond will follow you. It will grow. It will call to you. And one day, you will answer. The crowd roared again, some shouting his name, others demanding he accept. The humans shouted back, trying to keep control. The great hall became a storm of voices, and Daniel stood in the center, his fate slipping from his hands. As the chaos grew, the alien child broke free from her mother's side. She ran to Daniel, clutching his leg with her small arms. Her glowing eyes looked up at him, filled with innocence and certainty. She whispered one word in broken human tongue. "Protector." The single word cut through the noise like a blade. The crowd hushed, the tension heavy as stone. Daniel looked down at the child, her tiny hand gripping him as if she would never let go. And in that moment, he realized something terrifying. No matter what choice he made, he was already theirs. The declaration spread through the outpost like wildfire. By the next morning, every corridor buzzed with whispers. Humans spoke in low, worried tones. Aliens walked with pride, their eyes glowing as they glanced at Daniel. He had become the center of something much larger than himself. Daniel tried to bury himself in work, fixing broken circuits and sealing coolant leaks. But wherever he went, the stares followed. Alien guards saluted him with respect. Merchants offered him food without payment. Children followed him, calling out "Protector" in both alien tongue and broken human words. It was as if the entire culture had already accepted him as one of their own. But the humans had not. In the command center, officers gathered around maps and reports. One of them pulled Daniel aside, his voice sharp. "You need to end this, Cross. Do you understand what's happening? If they think you're part of their ruling line, it could rewrite every treaty we have." Another officer leaned in. "If you accept her claim, they'll see it as alliance. If you reject it, they might see it as betrayal. We're standing on the edge of war, because of you." Daniel rubbed his temples, exhaustion dragging at him. "I didn't ask for any of this. I just wanted to save her child." The officer's tone hardened. "Intent doesn't matter. Perception does. And right now, they perceive you as bound to their commander. You have to choose carefully, or you'll bring down everything we've built here." Later that night, Daniel walked the market district to clear his head. The alien child spotted him from across the square and ran to him, her laughter soft and bright. She clung to his hand as if it belonged to her. Her mother followed soon after, armored and tall, her presence drawing silence wherever she walked. Soraya's voice was calm, but firm. "My people already call you Protector. They will not stop. You saved her life. You gave your blood. That makes you kin." Daniel shook his head. "Your people's law isn't mine. I didn't agree to this." Soraya stepped closer, her eyes burning. "Do you think it matters? To my people, blood is stronger than words. You cannot walk away, not without dishonor." Their voices drew attention. Aliens watching with approval, humans watching with fear. The clash of two worlds tightening around a single man. Daniel felt the weight pressing on his chest. Soraya lowered her voice, almost a whisper. "You feel it too, don't you? The bond. It is more than tradition. It is real. I will not let my people think you dishonor us. I will not let my daughter believe her protector abandoned her." Before Daniel could answer, a human officer stepped into the circle, His voice cut like steel. Cross, step away. You don't belong to them. The crowd tensed, the air heavy with unspoken threat. Alien soldiers gripped their weapons. Humans reached for theirs. A single spark and the fragile peace would shatter. Daniel raised his hands, standing between the two sides. His voice shook but carried. Stop this. I'm not choosing anyone here, not tonight. But the silence that followed was not relief. It was pressure. Everyone knew the choice could not be delayed forever. That night, Daniel sat alone in his quarters, staring at his bloodied sleeve from the day of the transfusion. The child's voice echoed in his mind. Protect her. Soraya's gaze haunted him, her words like chains. The human's warnings echoed too. He was a man caught between two worlds, two cultures, two destinies. And every passing hour pulled him closer to a decision he wasn't ready to make. Somewhere deep inside, Daniel knew the truth. The bond was real, and no matter what he chose, it would shape not only his life, but the fragile peace between species. And the day of choice was coming sooner than anyone thought. The choice Daniel feared came sooner than anyone expected. It began with a tremor that shook the walls of the outpost. Alarms wailed, red lights flared, and voices shouted through the comm systems. Raiders! Incoming ships breaching orbit. Daniel rushed into the corridor, the floor trembling beneath his boots. Human soldiers scrambled to defensive positions. Alien warriors armed themselves with glowing blades and rifles. For the first time since the bond was declared, humans and aliens stood side by side, facing a common enemy. The raiders struck like a storm, tearing through the docking bays with explosions. Figures in black armor poured inside, their weapons spitting fire. Shouts and screams echoed as defenders clashed with invaders. Daniel grabbed a rifle from the wall rack, though his hands shook. He wasn't a soldier, but tonight he had no choice. In the chaos, Soraya appeared, her armor gleaming under the emergency lights. She moved like a force of nature, cutting down raiders with precise strikes. Her daughter was kept deep inside the stronghold, guarded by warriors. But Soraya's eyes found Daniel, sharp and commanding. You stand with me, human. You are protector now. Prove it. Before he could argue, a blast tore through the ceiling. Dust and fire rained down as raiders surged forward. Daniel and Soraya fell into step, covering each other's flanks. He fired shot after shot, the recoil bruising his shoulder. She deflected blades and drove her spear into enemies with brutal grace. For a moment, Daniel thought he would break. The noise, the blood, the fear, it pressed against him like a crushing wave. But then he remembered the child's small voice calling him protector. He gritted his teeth and kept fighting. And somehow, he survived the first wave. As the raiders regrouped, Soraya looked at him with something new in her eyes. Not just respect, not just duty, but recognition, as if she finally saw him as one of her own. You fight like clan, she said, her voice low but certain. Daniel gasped for breath, sweat streaking his face. I fight because I don't want to lose anyone, not again. The battle spread deeper into the outpost. Humans and aliens clashed together against the raiders, their voices uniting in shouts of defiance. But the enemy kept coming, wave after wave. When the shields failed and the inner gates cracked, it seemed the outpost would fall. Then Daniel made a choice that stunned even the warriors. When the raiders stormed the central reactor chamber, he rushed ahead. Soraya shouted after him, but he didn't stop. He knew if the raiders took the reactor, everyone would die. He hurled himself into the fight, firing wildly, forcing them back. A blade slashed across his arm, another across his side, but he kept going. Pain burned, but he would not stop. Soraya fought her way to him, her spear dripping with blood. Together they drove the last raiders out of the chamber. When silence finally fell, Daniel collapsed against the wall, bleeding but alive. Soraya knelt beside him, pressing her hand to his wound, her voice fierce. You are not just human anymore. Tonight, you proved it. You are bound to us, in blood, in battle. Daniel tried to laugh, though it came out weak and broken. I didn't do it for tradition. I did it because it was the right thing. Soraya's eyes softened, but her words were firm. Intentions do not matter. Action matters. And your actions speak louder than any oath. You are protector. No one can deny it now, not even you. The survivors gathered in the aftermath. Both humans and aliens looked at Daniel with new eyes, not just as the man who gave blood, but as the man who fought beside them. The whispers began again, spreading through the outpost like fire. Protector, clan, bonded. And though Daniel wanted to deny it, deep down he knew the truth. Something inside him had changed in the fire of battle. The bond was real, and the final choice, the one he feared most, was closer than ever. The outpost lay in ruins after the battle. Walls scorched black, corridors filled with smoke, and the floors stained with blood. But it still stood, and so did its people. Humans and aliens had fought together, side by side. And at the center of it all was Daniel Cross, the man who had never wanted to be a soldier, yet had become something far greater. In the aftermath, the survivors gathered in the great hall. Torches flickered against broken stone, casting long shadows over the banners of both species. The air was thick with silence, the weight of what had happened pressing down on everyone. Soraya stood tall, her daughter at her side. Her armor cracked, her face marked with cuts, but her voice strong and steady. She raised her hand, her gaze locked on Daniel. This human gave his blood to my child. He gave his strength to my people in battle. He stood when others would fall. By our law, by our bond, he is one of us. The aliens roared in agreement, their voices echoing like thunder. They struck their weapons against the floor, chanting a single word, Protector. The sound shook the hall, rattling Daniel's bones. But the humans were silent, their faces grim. Finally, the commander of the human forces stepped forward. His voice cut through the noise like a blade. Daniel Cross, you are a citizen of Earth. You swore loyalty to your people. If you accept their claim, you are no longer ours. You will belong to them. Understand this. Your choice today will change more than just your life. It could decide the future of peace between us. Daniel's chest tightened. Two worlds stood before him, waiting for his answer. Soraya's daughter clung to his hand, her glowing eyes wide with hope. Soraya herself watched him with fierce pride, but also patience. She would not beg, but her people's honor hung on his response. Daniel turned to the humans, his own people, the world that had raised him. He saw fear in their eyes, fear of losing him, fear of losing control. They wanted him to reject the bond, to step back into their world. But when he turned back to Soraya and her child, he saw something different. Not fear, but belief. They already saw him as one of them, as family, as kin. Silence stretched, heavy and endless. Daniel's voice finally broke through, low but steady. I never asked for this. I never wanted it. But I can't deny what I've done. I gave my blood to save her. I fought beside you to protect this outpost. And somewhere along the way, I became part of you. Gasps rippled through the humans. Shouts of approval roared from the aliens. Soraya's eyes burned brighter than the torches. But Daniel raised his hand, silencing both sides. I am still human. I will always be human. But maybe being human means more than standing with your own. Maybe it means doing what's right, even if it costs you everything. He turned to Soraya, his voice firm. I accept the bond. Not as your prisoner, not as your possession, but as your equal, as protector. The hall exploded with sound. Aliens cheered, humans shouted in disbelief. The future of the alliance shifted in that instant. One man, one human, had bound himself to an alien clan before the eyes of two species. Soraya stepped forward, placing her hand over his heart. Her voice rang clear. Then let it be known. From this day forward, Daniel Cross is protector of my child, protector of my clan, and bound by blood to me. The child's small voice rose above the noise. Protector, she whispered, clutching his hand tighter. And in that moment, Daniel felt the weight of destiny settle on his shoulders. He had chosen his path, a path no human had walked before. And though the road ahead would be filled with war, love, and sacrifice, he knew one truth with certainty. The stars would never see the same Daniel Cross again.